Infocom really got started because of Zork.
You had a bunch of guys at MIT, including most famously Mark Blank, Dave Liebling, who coded this game over the course of 3 years, finally ready to come out in 1980.
During development, they were calling the game Zork because at MIT it was just a hacker slang term for an unfinished program, so it was a Zork as it was being developed.
They initially programmed it on a PDP-10 mainframe computer. Huge game on this mainframe computer at MIT, but in 1980 they were ready to distribute to the world, to the personal computers out there. But the game was too big.
Even though it had this virtual memory system that was really revolutionary, it still wasn't enough to plop the whole game onto one single floppy disk for home PCs like the TRS-80 and the Apple II and such. So they split the game up from the beginning as Zork 1, 2, and 3.
Zork was kind of derivative from the original interactive fiction game. By interactive fiction, I mean text on a screen, telling you a story, and it's an adventure, and it's almost like a choose your own adventure.
Text adventures were nothing new at this point. When Zork came out, there was Adventure, Colossal Cave.
Infocom, which came out with Zork and all the other Zorks, and a bunch of other interactive fiction games. That's what Infocom was known for, interactive fiction.
They also had an incredible text parser that would let you use almost complete sentences. So instead of hit pat, it could be hit pat with mighty fist, and it would understand it.
Zork was a blockbuster, okay? You had games like Ultima or Wizardry that sold dozens of thousands of copies, and they were huge. Zork, by the mid-'80s, had sold hundreds of thousands of copies. That's unheard of.
They were the masters of the text adventure. I mean, they started out with games like Zork and then took the text adventure out of the realm of fantasy into just every single genre imaginable. You know, you name it, whether it was things like, Suspect, which was a murder mystery kind of thing, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
We even had adult titles like Leather Goddesses of Phobos, so kind of like a sex text adventure.
Yeah. So they had a 10-year run where they were just pumping these babies out.
When Infocom got big and started to box their titles, they loaded them full of cool stuff.
Yes.
They called them feelies.
Like, so if you got, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you got all these little manuals and scraps of paper, and sometimes there were actual items, like in Zork Trilogy, there was a Zork Mid coin, an actual coin out of metal that they cast, and they included in every copy of the game.
Leather Goddesses of Phobos actually has some scratch and sniff cards. One of them, if I remember correctly, is pleather, which is pretty hilarious.
The idea was, okay, well, you've got a text adventure, you've got to use your imagination for these graphics, but let's give people something out of the world of the game, some piece of thing brought out of the fiction that they can hold in their hands. And of course, you needed them to play the game, but something, that they can hold in their hands that would sort of like enhance the feeling of being in this world.
You always got good writing, and you got really high quality programming at the time. You couldn't beat them for adventure games.
It was like a supernova. It was, shining really brightly and then just petered out.
And the biggest thing to take away from the whole Zork experience is to stay the frick out of the dark.
It is pitch black. You are likely to be eaten by a grue.
They're awful. They're gonna eat you and such. You were likely to be eaten by a grue.
May the force be with you only gets you so far. You gotta use you are likely to be eaten by a grue to get to that sub-geek level. Then you get your pocket protector and your Rubik's Cube. That's how it works.